Hello and welcome to Dark Portents. I am Christian, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about Toll the Hounds, Malazan Book of the Fallen, Book 8. This will be spoilers for Toll the Hounds, and then a little later in the video I'll announce it. It'll be spoils for all of the Book of the Fallen to the end of the Crippled God. So, one thing that I found really fascinating while I was reading Toll the Hounds and trying to understand the Book of the Fallen while reading it was the way that Erikson showed Duiker in struggling to tell the story of what happened with the chain of dogs. And he apparently told the story one time to the bridge burners as they in Carul's bar at the end of Memories of Ice. And after that point, up until the point of Toll the Hounds, Duiker had not been able to retell the story. He was trying to put it into writing. He couldn't put it into writing. And so Fisher, the bard, Fisher Keltath, who has some of the best poetry in Malazan Book of the Fallen, was like, hey man, why don't you tell me what happened in the Chain of Dogs? And I'll write it down. And we'll do it like I'll write it as like a dramatization so that we don't have to do it like a regular history book. It can be like a dramatization, and maybe that'll help you like get the message of it out for people by using like my authorial voice to tell this story rather than trying to write it as a history book because you were so like personally connected to to these events, right? And so Duiker agrees. And in another scene, so I read that scene, first of all. I read that scene and I was like, oh, this is showing us who's writing the Book of the Fallen, right? It's Duiker and Fisher Keltath teaming up together to write Deadhouse Gates, right? And then there's another scene where Solara and Duiker are walking to the bar to go meet Crocus and his buddies. And Duiker is telling Solara about the events that take place in Gardens of the Moon. And it's very clear that Duiker has intimate knowledge of the events of Gardens of the Moon, from talking to different people in Darujhistan, listening to people at Crowell's bar, whatever the case may be. It's clear that he knows a lot about what happened in like more than just, zoomed out detail. He has like intimate knowledge of like what certain people were doing and things like that. So it's like, aha, Duiker probably is going to realize when he goes to tell the story of Deadhouse Gates that he also first has to tell the story of Gardens of the Moon, right? So this is a further clue in my mind that these are the authors of the Book of the Fallen, right? And I think that also, and it also helps me form this, speculation that Erikson has told us in an interview that I may have actually been a participant in. I think it might have been on the Green Team interview, but either that or it was an interview I listened to. Regardless, he told the viewers, the readers, in this interview that whenever he's really proud of a poem that he's writing, he attributes it to Fisher Keltath. So Fisher Keltath is like the gold standard within Malazan of what Erikson is proud of, right? So then Duiker and Solara go into this bar. And they sit down and she embarrasses Crocus. And then she goes on to summarize some of the events of the House of Chains and the Bone Hunters for Duiker, Crocus, and his friends, right? And so then they're like, okay, you gave us the Cliff Notes. They made no sense whatsoever. Your brevity is killing the story. Hint, 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 hint. So we need you to tell us the whole story from the beginning. We need more drinks. Let's do it, right? And it kind of like fades to black or whatever, goes to the next scene. So you get a sense that Duiker is familiar with the events of Gardens of the Moon. He obviously knows a lot of what happened in Deadhouse Gates. And he's being told the story of a lot of what happened in the House of Chains and the Bone Hunters. Same with Memories of Ice. I mean, he's been at Coral's bar, so he's going to hear everything that these veterans are saying to each other. He's going to hear a lot of what the people from Darujistan have said about those events, and he'll be able to, put it together. And Fisher could get part of the story from Envy, because at the time they're dating. So it really gives you an idea that at least for books 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6, and obviously 8 because they're in it, Duiker and Fisher together could kind of put together the Book of the Fallen. And it seems like they're going to be the narrators. So that is that's the theory I put forward, and I wanted to make a video about it before I finished the Book of the Fallen. And I was really confident that this was that these were the authors of the Book of the Fallen, in the in-world authors. Now, before I go on, I want to give anybody who hasn't read through to the end of The Crippled God a chance to bow out, because we're going to be spoilers for The Crippled God. Erikson... Okay, spoilers, everybody leaving. If you haven't read The Crippled God, please leave. Don't go away. Thank you for watching. It's been nice having you. Go away. Okay, spoilers for The Crippled God. Go. Now, you get to The Crippled God, and you read the epigraphs at the beginning of, the prologue and book 1 and chapter 1, and I forget which. There's, 2 of the 3 of the early epigraphs. I forget which ones exactly. Are poems by Fisher Keltath attributed to him as the author of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. So Stephen Erikson knows that he led us, the readers, to believe that Fisher Keltath is the author of the Book of the Fallen. And of course, as anybody who has finished The Crippled God knows, that is not the case. He had me going all the way till the end, when it's finally revealed who the author really was, and it was something that I think before Toll the Hounds I had considered might even be the case of who the author might be. I'm not sure about that though, but it definitely threw me for a loop and blew my mind, because at this point I was dead convinced. From book 1. From the epilogue of the entire series, that there is an in-world author, because it opens with an epigraph about reading the Book of the Fallen, about opening the old book, and the epigraph kind of speaks to what the book is about in a way. And then of course, book 8 kind of leads readers, or at least me, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who has thought this, to believe that you've discovered who the authors are in the person of Fisher Keltath and Duiker. And it makes sense that the poet who Erikson has said he's most proud of his poems that he writes from the penmanship of that poet, that would be the author, right? He then attributes it to the guy early on in the last book, and you're like, aha, fan theory confirmed. I literally sent a message to Joanna when I read that Fisher Keltath was the author. Fan theory confirmed. And then you get to the end and you see who it is, and it just blew my mind. What an amazing thing to do with the story, to make it this holy book written by this character you would never expect it to be. I mean, wow. It was a great reveal at the end. It was one of the most, more so than what Tavor's mission actually is in that last book. That revelation about who the author of the Book of the Fallen in the world was. just blew my mind. And if you want to hear more about that, the Ruthan Bad video, Steven Erikson equals the Crippled God, is a perfect video about that revelation and the full implications about that. I mean, it's a half joking theory in a way, but there's a lot of truth to it. And also, A.P. Canavan has a video about Toll the Hounds as the cipher for the Malazan Book of the Fallen. You should check those out. I don't think I necessarily have like anything super interesting to add to those things other than I got punked by Toll the Hounds, and for being a cipher for the series, there's a few false codes in there that I think Erikson knew that he was putting in there, and I fell for it. So yeah, and it was a happy thing. I was very happy to have not predicted this one, and to have falsely predicted it, as I think Erikson put the breadcrumbs there for some readers who like trying to get ahead of things, for them to pick up on those breadcrumbs and go down the rabbit hole. And it was a very fun thing to not be able to get ahead of the narrative on that one. Or even if I had, I'm not sure if I did or not, even if I had to be distracted from the true prediction onto this thing that I was absolutely dead sure that not only was I right about the prediction, but that it had been confirmed, and then you get to the end and that's not what it is. And that was a lot of fun, and one of the aspects of the ending I appreciated. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below. And I'm sure I'll have more videos about the 10 books and about the last book. Things that I struggled with, things that I really loved, all of that stuff. And really about the last 5 books, because I haven't made a video in a while. But thanks for watching. Dark Portent signing out.